know I've been quiet for a minute. I've been grinding, still in it. I've been counting these digits. Excuse me. I know I've been quiet for a minute, but I'm back on my business.
Today we are joined by a good friend of mine that I went to high school with, Julian Portugal. Soccer player, coach, mentor. Tell us a little bit about yourself to get this show started.
Julian Portugal, or Julian Portugal for the people that can't speak Spanish. Born and raised in Mexico, then moved to Las Vegas. You mentioned I was a mentor coach, so I'll just go into my soccer journey. I started playing soccer when I was here in Vegas. I didn't play soccer in Mexico. I've basically played every level that Vegas I saw, from rec to club to college. Played at UNLV, and I also played on the Las Vegas Lights.
Nice.
Every level that Vegas offers, I've played at here locally.
When did you move from Mexico to over here?
8 years old.
8 years old. Okay.
8 years old.
And where in Mexico?
I'm from, some people know, it's called Chalco. It's right on the metropolitan area of Mexico City, so I just say Mexico City.
Okay. And then, but your dad is from Spain.
Spain.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people think, Madrid. So no, my dad's from a small little town called Santa Cecilia with, I think now has 100 people in it.
Wow.
So it's a small little town stuck in time. There's no Wi-Fi. A small town living.
And you were just there recently, right? That's where you went?
Yep.
You always go there? Do you ever travel
Always.
around? Yeah.
I get away from the phones, from the computers, from the noise. You'll be lucky to see a car pass every 40 minutes. So just let my boys, now I'm a father of 2, so just let my boys roam free with no word of them being snatched up.
It is nice, huh? My family's from El Salvador, as you know, and I went last year, and I left my phone sometimes, and it was just good to disconnect and just country and, just enjoy the people around. It's nothing better, I think.
No, it's absolutely. It's like, and then, the sun goes down till like 9:30, 10 p.m. It's crazy to think how some people remember me from like 20 years ago. It's just like, it's people, since their lives go so by slow, instead of like us, like we're go every single time. They remember little small details. I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy to think that. Remember one lady telling me, hey, I remember we celebrated your you turned 6 years old here. I think your birthday was August 26th. I was like, lady, who the hell are you? I don't remember you.
That's
but she knew my birthday, so.
That's awesome. It's probably because they don't see too many people.
No,
so
that's why I'm telling you. And obviously someone that's, coming from either Mexico or Vegas, hey, the foreigners are here. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I know there's you have a lot going on. I met you in high school. And throughout the years, we've seen each other here and there, talked to each other here and there, and we both had a lot of stuff going on. I love what you're doing, so I definitely want to get into all of that. Mm-hmm. But I do want to keep going on the kind of path we're in right now and kind of let people know who you are, how it started. And I want to go back to like the soccer days.
Okay.
So you said you're in Mexico, but you didn't play there.
No. So actually, my parents tried to put me in like a little academy, but I think I was 6 or 7, and I just sat down and started collecting like grasshoppers and ladybugs. And after that session of the practice, the coach told my dad, he's like, "Hey, sir, you'll be better off putting him in another sport." Wow. So that was it, and I started a little bit of like, I think, karate and boxing.
Okay.
And then when I finally moved to the United States, my aunt was here. And she actually put my cousin into the Rainbow League, which is a rec league that they play their games at Desert Breeze Park. Yeah. And my aunt, which is my mom's sister, was like, hey, I'm going to put Julian in this league. And mom was like, no, we already tried it in Mexico. He didn't like it. She's like, no, come on, my cousin Alex. He's like, Alex is having a lot of fun. Let him try it out. So once I, picked up the ball again and started kicking it, I fell in love with it. Yeah. Yeah, so it was funny. From like 2 years ago, I didn't want to do anything with it. 2 years later here at the Rainbow League, I fell in love with it.
It was just that moment, right?
Just a moment. Yeah. Just a moment. So, so I was actually 10 when I started playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because I feel like now it's being pushed a lot. Whatever the sport is, not just soccer. Yeah. But whatever the sport is being pushed a lot from kids at a small age. And maybe you know more about that than I do, but you see people like now in like college, which is still young, having like serious injuries. Do you think that has to do with it, that they're being pushed so hard now at a younger age?
Yeah, you're seeing it more now. I think even with social media, it's changed a lot now. Parents love to like get likes through their parents, through their kids, amazing plays or whatever. It's crazy to see like a 6-year-old. XX whatever name and say managed by parent Instagram account, and then there's like highlight reels trying to like make these. I was like, none of this existed. So there's definitely a little bit more pressure. I think now people realize obviously the benefits there is in sports, and for you to be seen, it's easy to be seen now. You have to use these little pathways of social media, YouTube, Instagram. So I think that now kids are being pushed even more. Awesome. And obviously with the growth of the city too, there's more coaches. Just everything has just increased a lot.
I definitely want to hit on that in a little bit about the social media. At some point, you did go back to Mexico.
Yeah. So when I started playing soccer here, obviously we wanted something more competitive, so I moved from the rec league to club, and the first club team I was on was actually a team called Atlas, which is an all-Hispanic team. The coach was really good, and I was with them for a couple years. And then back in the day, there was no MLS academies. There was no real opportunity for you to continue playing soccer. It was basically you play club soccer, and then you go on to college. There was no other thing in between. But in Mexico, there was academies. Most of the teams in first division had either youth academies, and then also there's other divisions. So the first time I went, my coach was like, hey, how come you don't go to Mexico? I was absolutely. So I went and tried out for this team called Zacatepec, which is 2 hours south of Mexico City. And it's funny because at that time, that team back in the 50s was a really good team, but it's been getting relegated down to third division. So say, there's a show, they're going to try, promoting the team, so hopefully it can be bounced back to first division or higher division. So I tried out for this team, made it, and it was one of my best years of soccer. And the funny part was I was like part reality show too.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it was. There's not much on it anymore because it was back in 2008, 2009, but it was called Zacatepec al rescate de los cañeros.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that anybody that watches this, if they search, can probably find something online.
No, they'll find out about it. Yeah, I think the show was on air for 3 years.
Okay.
And then, I went back to Mexico. And then after Zacatepec, I went to Atlante. Atlante at that time was in Cancun, which they were in first division. Right now, currently, they're in second. They got relegated. But at the time, they were really good. They actually played Barcelona the year I was over there. The first team. I was on the U17s and U20s in the FIFA Club World Cup. So it was a team that had a lot of recognition at the time. And then obviously it just started getting relegated. But before that happened, I actually ended up coming back to Las Vegas.
So I know that it was more competitive, right, playing over there.
Yeah.
But let's just say that it was more competitive here. But the fact that you have to move from one country to another country, I think that messes with you, especially as a young kid. So what kind of like mindset did you have going into all of that? Like, were you thinking like, oh, I'm going to miss home? Like, did you feel homesick? Like, what were you feeling?
A lot of people say because Zacatepec, first of all, it's a small town. So they say the commodities, like, hey, some of the streets are not even going to be paved. They're like dirt. The training fields, if I'm able to like share with you some of the videos of where we trained, it was compared to KZ or compared to Centennial Hills, which is nice grass. Yeah. There was this the training facility that we were at. These fields were called Deportivo Cisneros. There was stray dogs on the field. Sometimes guys with bottles on them. But I loved it. Honestly, it didn't faze me. The not having to come out of your parents dropping you off. I just don't know how to say this transportation. La combi. La pecera or something like that. Yeah. So I had to take myself to practice now. I had to kind of navigate my way, which I loved. I loved every part of it. So it didn't really mess with me. It just embraced my love more for the sport. And I was like, hey, this is what I got to do to get to where I need to be.
And it also helped you grow up.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's different cultures. I think kids in Mexico and, most Latin American countries and even Europe, you're forced to grow up a little bit at an earlier age.
Definitely. I think I mentioned to you, you actually trained him. I think my cousin, Michael Umaña, he got picked up from Necaxa.
Okay.
So he's playing out there. And they actually they're playing the Adidas tournament in Florida right now.
The GA one, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been there for, I think, almost 2 years now.
Okay.
And when he first left, he came back maybe 3 months later for Christmas, I think it was, or something like that. And from just those 3 months, man, the way he changed, like from one day to another, it seems like it's only been 3 months, and he's like talks different. His mindset, I can tell, is different.
Yeah.
And he obviously grew because I'm sure all the training and stuff, he's like a little bulked up now and everything. Yeah. So I can only imagine like the transformation it had for you.
No, you go from club soccer. Usually here you train 3 times a week, and then you have a game. over there is training 6 times a week, and then you have a game. So Zacatepec at the time was in Tercera División, which is already, it's not professional, but they call it professional because some teams do pay their players. Zacatepec didn't. It was a poor team. So, but obviously they try to keep the stuff on the field as professional as possible. Right. So you had your uniforms, you walk in, you played in a stadium. So it was just a whole different ball game for me. And in Tercera División, which is something that, you know, they try to adapt. They try to put young players have to be on the field competing against older players. Gotcha. So like in their division is the ages is from 15 to 19. And it's mandatory that each team fields at least one 15-year-old, 2 16-year-olds, and the rest can be whatever age. So it's forcing a 15 and 2 16-year-olds to play against 19-year-olds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, 15 to 19-year-olds.
Yeah. It was kind of like in basketball back in the day, the U.S. Olympic team used to have a college player all the time with all the pros. Yeah. So that's really cool for the players there that are younger there. So played in Mexico, came back, you went through high school, and then you became a Rebel. Yeah. And you played at UNLV. What was that like?
Well, UNLV wasn't my first option. To be fair, and obviously this is gonna stretch out to why I do what I do now. Mm-hmm. When I came back, I didn't know anything about college soccer. I didn't know anything about college. I didn't even know UNLV had a college team. I didn't even know there was NCAA soccer. Yeah. My plan was to finish high school and then go try out. At the time, MLS teams actually had open tryouts, or maybe go back to Mexico once I got done with school. Obviously coming back and playing club soccer, I was getting letters from these schools. I was like, hey, would you like to come to our campus? Yada, yada. And then my coach at the time who contacted me with UNLV, a guy named Frank D'Amelio. I don't know if you know him, Coach Frank. Yeah. He was like, hey, UNLV's interested in you. They want you. And I was like, cool. So I talked to Rich Ryerson at the time, who was the head coach. And he's like, all right, well, let's get your information down, your transcripts. Let's see what we can do to get you to UNLV. And when I went to the council over there at Palo Verde, I was so credit deficient. And it wasn't because I was failing classes. It's because when my transcripts from Mexico got brought to back to the U.S., it's like biology in Mexico is not the biology in the United States. Yeah. So whoever translated those grades, and I didn't know, really screwed me over. So they're like, it looks like you might have to go to junior college first, get your AA, and then you can transfer out. I was like, you serious? So I was like, what do I got to do so I can skip that step and I can just go straight to UNLV?
I remember.
I don't really remember. So as a senior, I had a full schedule. Mm-hmm. I took AIS, which used to be like these packages, and like you test out and then they give you a credit. And I did adult ed. So I did 3 different types of schools just to graduate on time. Yeah. I had to take my SATs. At the time, what was called the proficiencies. Mm-hmm. I had to pass all 4 of the science, English, math, and writing. Yeah. So that whole year was hell for me, just to make sure I got into UNLV. Yeah. And it's funny because I knew I got into UNLV 2 weeks before preseason started.
Damn.
So I really, right there. Yeah. Usually some kids are committed by, February, January, March, like around those times. 2 weeks before, I remember it was like July 15th, before the first day of preseason, August 1st.
I remember saying like, "Hey, let's go here," and you'd be like, "Wait, I have an hour or whatever." Yeah, doing the extra work.
Yeah, no, it was pretty gruesome, but I mean, I got the job done.
So I want to know if you're willing to shed some light on the college soccer. I think the soccer has gotten better here in the United States. Yeah, but I think I'm not exactly sure what it is. I have opinions, but I think there's something missing in the college system, I think. Yeah. And I know in different countries it's different. Like, if a kid is going to play, sometimes they don't even go to school. They just play their entire life. And then, I don't know, 17, 18, boom, here's a contract. He's really good. And one of my favorite players, the Brazilian Ronaldo, used to say how his mom used to walk him to the corner. And then he used to walk to the other corner, but instead of making a right to go to school, he'd make a left and go to the park. Yeah. Mom thought he was at school all day, and he was just playing all day. So can you shed some light on that? Do you know anything, like, what you think is missing there? Like, why are we such a big nation, and we can't compete the same as these other countries?
Well, I think the number one thing is there's no identity to how we play soccer here in the U.S. You look at Spanish players, let me ask you, what would you, like, categorize them as Spanish players?
Like in form of
just what's the style of play for Spain?
Oh, like the I always think of the Barca style.
Yeah,
you know,
possession based. Yeah, tiki taka and all
tiki taka. Yeah.
So there's an identity there. Yeah. Brazilians, what are they good known for?
Joga bonito.
Okay, there's an Argentinians are a little more technical but gritty and stuff. We don't have no identity. We don't know what we play at.
True.
I think that's why we struggle even more now.
Yeah.
Than in the past. Even though there's more soccer and there's more guys in the U.S. playing in Europe, why are we struggling more? Because we don't have an identity. At least back in the day, we knew, let's pick the fastest and strongest guys and let's stick to them. Even though they're not good soccer players, but at least we had an identity. Yeah. And we had a Landon Donovan and a Clint Dempsey that were like that. And not only, like, they were actually the ballers. They weren't big, they weren't strong, but they were ballers. Yeah. So I think that's why the U.S. did so well back in the day. It was like, hey, we just have to defend, grind it out, and make sure the ball gets to these two guys so they can handle business. And we always have good goalkeepers, so at least that part was covered too. So I think we just lack an identity.
Yeah, man, and it sucks because, like, I'm sure, you know, you represent Mexico, Spain, but you would like to see USA, right?
Always. I mean, that's what I do. I want to help the U.S., achieve big things. You think about countries like Portugal. That's probably like the size, I'm probably so off, the size of Florida or the size of California. Yeah. And you see the talent that they're pulling off.
And that's kind of my point, too. I'm like, how is it that, like, places like that compared to us, like, in a way, it doesn't make sense. But I totally agree with you with what you're saying about the identity. And I hope, sometime during our time that we see some kind of change. Yeah. Because I want to be able to see USA, like, win a World Cup or something,
No, absolutely. No, and I think it is going to happen. There's so much money being poured into sport, into the soccer world. I mean, we got the World Cup coming up. We have the Olympics coming up.
Next year, right? Yeah.
I think, and then I think I might be wrong. I think we just got awarded the 2031 Women's World Cup.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of soccer being brought. You see all these new franchises popping. The MLS, I don't know how many teams it has now. So the game is blowing up more, where it's getting to a point where it's now surpassing baseball.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I like soccer, so
no, and that's why you see like NFL, NBA always partner up with MLS, and when these European clubs come and do a preseason over here, there's always like Vinny throwing the football with some football player, because you see the marketing level that soccer has compared to just the countries, the main sports that are here in this country.
Definitely. And now you have like Patrick Mahomes bought ownership of the Kansas team, Kansas City FC or whatever it is.
It's the women's team.
Oh, the women's team?
In NWSL, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I forgot who else. I think Jalen Hurts or somebody. But yeah, you got the players buying into it because I think they see the same thing.
No,
that is growing.
Yeah, I mean the women's franchise, I think a couple years ago was like 8 million or 10 million. Now it's blown up to 250 million.
That's crazy.
So that's how much you want to put a pro women's soccer team. It's a lot of money because people have seen now that it's growing dramatically for the men's and for the women's also too.
It's wild, man. So after your time with the Rebels, you had some time with, where'd you go, directly to the Lights?
No. So after I was done with UNLV, I played with the Tulsa Roughnecks.
Okay.
They're now called FC Tulsa. They're still in the same division, which is the USL Championship. That's where I got kind of like everything kind of started going downhill in my soccer career. It was kind of a weird scenario where I started playing the first, I believe, 9 to 10 games as a starter, getting some 90 minutes, getting some 80 minutes, so good quality minutes. And I know where one game the coach just completely didn't even put me on the roster, so not even on bench.
Oh, wow.
So I went from like starting, playing a lot of minutes, to the next game it was like just eliminated me. And I was like, it was the first time that ever happened to me. And I was like, I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to feel. I just remember being like, it felt empty.
Yeah.
And then obviously the coach told me, hey, the reason why is because, we need to utilize other guys because we're starting to lose them because we see you that you're fit, you're mentally stronger, and if we bench you, you'll be stronger than them. And some other guys, we just need to put them in before we lose them. It's a long season, so I just want you to be patient. And it was a new side of me. I've always been kind of one of those guys like, hey, help with the soccer boss, help the equipment manager with the equipment, help the PT with like, hey, with the water. And I was like, you know what? If those little things don't matter, me always trying my hardest at practice didn't matter. It completely changed me. I just stopped trying.
Dang.
Hey, yeah, it was a bad side of me that, looking back at it, if I had someone like me now, I would have told myself, hey, be patient. But anyway, yeah, it's just kind of happened. He will put me in some games, some not. Wouldn't roster me. It was just, a roller coaster. And then it got to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm not winning that much money. And back in the day, the USL Championship was really bad. I was on $1,000 a month, and I was like, how do you consider that professional?
Yeah.
We were living in these rough apartments in Tulsa. My roommate, you know, you get roommates in the USL. Like, they do provide living. My roommate, though, had his wife who was pregnant. He had his 2 kids. So I was like, our apartment, I was basically just like condoned to my own little room because, you know, the kids took over and I wasn't going to be like mean about it.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this is a situation, I just don't like it anymore. So I ended up actually leaving a little bit over half the season. And I came back, and then I was just trying to, you know, figure out the next step of my life.
So I feel like that might have answered the next question I have for you, but what was like is that like the turning point for you when you kind of said like, what could I do for the next generation? Honestly, I was those after Tulsa, I was trying to figure out what to do with my soccer career. Okay. You know, you know, I was hitting up coaches, I was emailing, I had a friend that was playing in Hong Kong. I was like, dude, what's the deal over there? And then at that time, actually, I had an offer to go to Belgium. Oh, wow. But that fell through because they found out my dad was from Spain. So the problem with that is when I was going to go to Belgium, I was going to go in as an American citizen, so as a foreigner. And foreigners get paid more than European citizens because of the EU. So when I gave my parents information, they saw my dad was born in Spain. They said, hey, is there a way you can, you know, get your Spanish citizenship or your Spanish passport? I was like, yeah. It's like, all right, well, we need you to do that because you're going to be cheaper for us like that. Oh, my God. So in transition, trying to get my Spanish passport, I went to the consul in L.A. They're like, no, you're in Vegas. You got to go to San Francisco. And then like, oh, you were born in Mexico. You got to go to the one in Mexico. So those 2 months, I just went from different cities. And like, no, they were giving me different answers. And the team was like, hey, you know, we filled up our rosters. We have no more money. Maybe stay shape, and then we'll stay in touch. So those 2 to 3 months after Tulsa, I wasn't doing really much. I was just trying to stay in shape, figure out, but also I was living with my parents. I was like, man, this is the first time, and I don't know how long, I'm not in a locker room. I'm not in a training session. Because, you know, in soccer, seasons turn around. Once it's over, you go back into it like in a month. Yeah. So I was like, what am I doing with my life? So I always tell people, I think that's the first time I felt depression in my life, like genuine depression. Like I was like, what the hell is going on? So just to kind of stay involved with the game, I started actually coaching with Barcelona. My cousin Alex, his dad, and, you know, Danny Leyva. Yeah. His dad, they had a club called Barcelona. And they're like, hey, we see that you're here. How come you don't come out and, you know, coach the boys a little bit? And I knew I wanted to coach once I was done playing with my playing career. I was like, you know what? But not yet. Mm-hmm. You know, might as well just get into it now. And I started coaching them here and there, not really anything. I didn't pick up a team. I was working with most of the teams. And out of nowhere, a dad's like, hey, do you do privates? And I was like, no. I mean, I have no equipment. I have no material. I was like, no, I have some soccer balls and some pull-up goals. How about, you know, we do a private? I was like, all right, well, what park? Yeah. And I remember doing privates. Do you remember Che? Yeah. At Crossings Park behind Summer Hospital. I was like, hey, okay, we can go to this park. I used to do privates there a long time ago with my coach when I was growing up. So I went there, and I remember my first session had 4 kids. Dang. And and then, you know, 25 a pop. I was like, oh, damn, $100. But the funny thing is, actually writing down the session the night before, I was like, I found myself liking it. I was like, okay, this is something I can actually get back. You know, I can get into, back it up. So from that Sunday to the next Sunday, my session grew to 8 kids. Wow, that's pretty fast. No, I don't know. I think I'm gonna be honest. I was like, I ran that session pretty well. Everything was smooth. And then slowly it progressed from every Sunday at Crossings Park for the next 2 to 3 months. My sessions grew from 8 to 9:30, 9:30 to 11, 11 to 12:30, and then sometimes even from like 2 all the way to 3:30. Wow. And then, so it got to a point where now parents were like, hey, you know, what do you also do during the weekdays? And then I started driving to different parks to start training kids. So my clientele just grew from there. Gotcha. And how long until, because I remember you were coaching at what's called Phase 1 Sports, right? Yeah. How long was it until you said, I got to find a place to do more? So actually what happened was, I was doing the park sessions, and then some people couldn't make it on Sundays because it's a family day. We like to do barbecues, it's church. So my actual first facility was my parents' garage. Oh, I remember. So to train kids during the weekdays, I was like, hey, I told my parents, is it cool if I, you know, get all the stuff out and kind of use the garage? We put a little carpet, we built a little wall so we can hit the ball against. Yeah. We had a treadmill that didn't work. I bought this squat rack, a TRX, enough to get the job done. Yeah. And so that was my first facility, my parents' garage. And then from there, kind of like
grew, and my friend Jason Ng, who was at Hong Kong, came back, played at UNLV. He started a program at Phase 1, and he was like, hey, I'm about to go play college ball. I can't do this program. How come you don't move your business to Phase 1? So that's when I moved to Phase 1. Gotcha. I met Mike Waters over there, and then Mike Waters saw me run one session. He's like, I love it. Here's the keys. Here's the security code. My deal with him was 50-50. He's like, you make money, I make money. And, you know, at the time, some people look at it, 50-50, you're doing all. I was like, no, I saw it as an opportunity to make sure I can train whenever I want, because now I have a roof, so it's hot, cold, windy, rain. And then it's also an established facility. And at that time, they have a lot of pro football players training with them. So I was like, it even gives a different type of vibe when people are training here. So at Phase 1, I think it was in 2000, almost towards the beginning of 2017, ending of 2016. That's when I transitioned to Phase 1.
Okay.
And then that summer of 2017, they said that the Las Vegas Lights were going to come to town. And at that time, I was already kind of like 2 years in of training kids and coaching. I was coaching at CSN as well. I was coaching at LVSA. And I was fully involved into coaching and training. And I was like, you know what? I don't feel like I can play anymore. I'm about to be like 26, 27, I believe at the time. I was like, there's no big contract coming in. They ain't going to pay the bills. I'm doing pretty good with the coaching and training. Yeah. But I'm going to use this as a marketing opportunity to promote my training.
There you go.
So 3 months before they announced the open tryouts, when they announced the open tryouts, it was 3 months before it happened. I just grinded. I was like, I'm gonna use myself to promote my training, train hard, technical, strength conditioning, everything kind of like the game requires.
I love it.
I'm going to get a pro contract, and I'm going to start on the team, and I'm going to tell you, hey, this is what I did to get a pro contract. How you see now some people do on TikTok and stuff like that. So there was no TikTok back in the day, but I had some little videos from my GoPro and stuff. But yeah, that's eventually what I did.
That's dope, man. That's really cool. Yeah, you're a living example of your own work.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that was my purpose behind it. So I played on the Lights, was one of the first 5 players to sign the team. You know, a little marketing on their part because the first 5 were from Vegas.
Yeah.
But actually, I was a starter. And then it got to a point where I was like, man, this is not. I don't want to play anymore. It's just not. Doesn't get me out of bed like it used to. I found a new passion.
Yeah.
So and at the time when I was at Lights, I actually stopped coaching at CSN. I stopped the training on the clubs. I started kind of most of my private training because I just didn't have time.
Right.
Because sometimes we have 2-a-days with the Lights. I was like, this is just too much time for the money they had. And it's just not. This is not the pro environment I wanted if I was going to get back into it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, I'm done playing. If you guys want to start training. And obviously playing on the Lights gave me a whole new level of my credibility.
Yeah, and then it opened up your sphere, too, to new people, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's actually funny because when the Light season was over, a lot of the guys that kind of stayed in Vegas ended up actually training at Phase 1. And some of them were like, hey, can you help me get ready for the next season?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it helped me it obviously opened up my door to a little more pro players, a lot more kids. And at the time, obviously meeting my wife, Mackenzie, she opened the whole new realm. Who Mackenzie played at UW, played on the U15s all the way to the U23s national teams. So meeting her and then kind of ending with the Lights was perfect timing. That it just kind of blew up from there.
Yeah. So you ended with the Lights. You go back to coaching. And how long until you created what we know as Portugal Sports Academy?
I think a couple months. So I think I left the Lights like in August, and we started looking for buildings in the beginning of 2019. Okay. You know, so like from August 2018 to August to December 2018, we were like, hey, we're just too full. We don't have enough space. Because at the same time, we need to run sessions with the other classes that Phase 1 had.
Right.
If not, some of our sessions, I think you came to one on Tuesdays. Like we were starting till like 9 p.m. I was like that was super late.
Yeah. But
we started looking for buildings in the beginning of 2019, and then we were getting rejected. Obviously, it was just the money that we had saved up during the time. You know, Mackenzie and me had a discussion, do we buy a house or do we kind of do our own thing?
Yeah.
And we're like, no, let's do our own thing. I think we can, the house will come later, you know?
Yeah.
And then with a couple, you know, I think we started with $200,000. But when people looked at our financial backing, like, no, we need someone that can guarantee, you know, a down payment and like at least 3 years of rent. And I was like, I can guarantee you 2 months of rent. But, you know, kind of giving up. I remember it's like around March, I was like, you know what, I'm done. Like everyone's saying no to us, going to save buildings. And then, you know, people were like, yeah, act super nice. And as soon as I pulled out my bank accounts, they're like, seriously, $200,000? Like, nah, you can't have this building. But the last stretch, one more time I was at LoopNet. I found the building that we're currently in. I called lady, like, hey, this is a deal. This is what I have before we go. She's like, no, we can make that work. You want to see the building? I was like, absolutely. And then from there, we got the keys to our building in May 2019.
Yeah, I remember going to your grand opening. You had a little event going on.
Yeah.
I keep telling you, man, I love what you're doing. But I want to dig more into that now. So now you have your official place. So now you can expand your business. But what did you say that, what did you want to accomplish specifically in terms of soccer? And did you want to fix the young kids' mentality, the physical? Like, what was your focus first to make these kids better?
Everything. It even starts with the household component of the parents. You know, sometimes as parents' expectations are something like, my kid's gonna go to Stanford, my kid's gonna go to Clemson or something, some big dog schools, and then parents need to realize my kid's only good enough for this.
Okay.
Got it? So it was kind of like making sure the kids enjoy the game. Okay. My main goal is to get kids into college.
Okay.
You know, the professional world, it's sometimes it's the right time, right place, right person watching you. You know, there's so many other variables that sometimes you can't control, even if you're putting work in every day.
Yeah.
You know, but we can guarantee college soccer. There's so many opportunities in D3s, D2s, D1s, and junior college now. Yeah, and some people like, well, if I play D3, I'm not gonna play for. No, that's not true. There's players that have come out of D3 and playing in the MLS.
Of course.
You know,
yeah.
I always like to tell people, if you ball out wherever, as long as you're on green grass field, if you ball out, you're gonna make enough noise for someone to turn their head and look at you. So what we promise is like getting kids ready for the next level, which is for us that the most feasible and realistic one is college.
Okay, what is that conversation like? I'm sure it's gotta be somewhat uncomfortable. I would think if you talk to a parent and be like, look, your son is not, or your daughter's not that good, or however you approach it.
No, I think it's just I always tell people this. Look, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong, but I've been doing this long enough. I train 9% of the MLS pro players, and I see the difference of what they do compared to your kid does.
True.
You know, and if your kid is not acting at least like they're a pro player right now and doing the little small things right, they're not cut out for the bigger, even the good D1s now, which is just getting super hard for kids in America now to even get into.
Definitely. How when it comes to your mentorship, how personal do you get with your player or your athletes? Because I'm sure it's gotta be different from, let's say, a 5-year-old to a 15-year-old. So how personal do you get with them to help them stay focused if this is something they want to do, play soccer?
Well, how personal is just always being real with them. You know, and also letting them know that, hey, I'm doing this for you. Mm-hmm. It's not about me. You know, it's like, you got to be transparent with me. I've had kids sometimes that their parents push them so much in multiple sports, or and then they come train with us, or multiple sessions. Hey, can my kid get one more session in? And then when they come in, you know, the girl had a track meet and then had club soccer practice, and then they come with us, and the girl's just bawling out because she's like, I am so fatigued.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, look, this is what we're going to do. Right, tell your dad that you did train. Go sit down, stretch a little bit, foam roll, and we'll call it a night. All right? So that sometimes is like feeling the sensations of like, hey, knowing the human aspect of the kid. You have to be able to read it. Right. So that's how personal we get.
Man, that's good though, because I think like if you were to push it like the parent was, you burn them out. And if they have a passion for it, they could lose it, right?
Well, absolutely. You know, there was a very good, talented soccer player. I'm not going to say female or male. But, you know, at the time, she was playing high school and club soccer. And I always say it's crazy to think sometimes what some parents do to their kids. Her schedule on any given like competitive week, she was having 2 high school games, let's say Tuesday and Thursday. And then she will have high school practice Monday, Wednesday. And then she was having club practice on Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So sometimes after her high school games, she would go to club practice.
Sheesh.
And on Saturday, Sunday, she would have, I just said she, so it was a girl. She would have 2 competitive club games. So on any given week, she was playing around, she would have, let's say, 7 to 8 sessions.
Damn.
And this girl was getting called up to the U17 national team. Wow. And the dad and me was like, we're going to come up with a plan from August to when she was going to get called up to that camp when she had to leave to San Diego. Mm-hmm. I believe it's in November. I was like, hey, we're going to manage this. In high school, please, when they play against the lower tier teams and stuff, the teams that they're going to mercy rule them, tell her not to play. Oh, but what about her stats? I was like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just let her rest those games. The dad tells me this stuff. We come up with a plan in August. Don't hear from him. In November, they come to me. It's a Thursday session. She leaves Sunday to the national team camp, right? And I see the girl on Thursday because she drove herself. I don't see the dad. She looks gassed out. At this time, she's played like over 20 high school games. She's already played like 15 club games, has had sessions with another trainer too.
Yeah.
You know, and I look at her and I was like, go sit down, ride the bike, stretch. Luckily, Mackenzie was there at the time. So Mackenzie, take her to the side. And dad comes in after the session. Oh, how did she wear? I was like, honestly, we let her form her. She's burned out. Oh, no, she needs a little bit of rhythm before she leaves Sunday. Because she was going to leave Sunday and then play that same Sunday night.
Dang.
And then she's like, oh, no, there's a tournament this weekend. I'm going to let her play Friday and Saturday just to get a little bit of rhythm before she leaves Sunday. I was like, don't do it. Let her rest. Fast forward to Saturday. Mackenzie and me are at Target. And we see that down in we always like to creep around that little sports section. And he's looking for like some type of like bandage or something. I was like, what happened? Oh, she played and she got hit. And then when she got up a couple plays later, she just fell. Like her knee gave out.
Oh, my gosh.
Sunday she goes. She leaves, her knee's in pain. And I guess a girl kind of breaks, does a little move, and she falls. And we call. And then that calls me like Monday, hey, this is what happened with her on Sunday. She flies back, MRI, torn ACL. And it's like, that's why like it gets point to you have to get realistic with these parents and personal, because it's now the health of the kids that they're putting at risk.
Yeah.
You know?
And I get it too. You want to, they want to be good, or your parents want them to be good, but I think listening to somebody like you is what they have to do. Like, you got to make a plan, because yes, you got to put in the extra hours, but also everyone's body's built different.
Absolutely.
So you might need an extra hour of rest than I do, or vice versa, right? So that's really important, because that's what we were just talking about when we started. Like, I keep seeing that. Like, when have you really heard the 15, 16-year-old tearing their ACL until, like, the last, like, I don't know, 5-10 years maybe? Yeah. You know, and that's a big injury.
Yeah.
Then when you're younger, you can recover better than when you're older, but still, now that's like, that follows you, like, on your resume when your teams are looking at you, or coaches, and, you know.
No, yeah. No, it's something that's always gonna, you always have to be careful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some people that come out from torn ACLs, but, like, now with the demanding, not just, like, at the high-level performance soccer matches, like, if you were to say a Real Madrid player, now that's going highest of the highest. Mm-hmm. But even in college now, or even in club, it's so competitive now. Yeah. There's so many games that an injury can let you down for, put you to the side for a couple games, where maybe the coach that was going to look at you for college is going to see you. And so definitely what we try to do, and it's personal, is going back to make sure we actually tell the kids, look, this is the schedule. You have to sometimes go against what your parents say. Mm-hmm. You know, and at the same time, also knowing that the kid is not, like, you know, being soft too and saying, no, hey, I'm just being lazy today.
Of course. Okay.
You know, so that's where sometimes we have to get really personal and feel the kid out to get to know them. Yeah. You know, so that's where we've kind of taken our business now. We're not a facility that, hey, these are our programs, let's get as many kids as we can. If you see sometimes the little, like the summer camp we're going to have, it's limited now, because we want to work with kids that are not just going to do the camp with us, but can continue a journey into whatever we, you know, the pathway we're trying to provide for them.
Definitely. I want to talk to you about, you mentioned to me last time that we spoke, the school program that you have going on at the Portugal Sports Academy. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, and break it down as much as you can, because I love that idea, and I really want it to blow up for you. Yeah,
so it's actually a new trend. So it wasn't really something that we thought of. A mom thought of it for us.
Oh, wow.
Because her daughter was at another one. I'm not going to say the name. And then she was at another one in Vegas.
Okay.
But the trainers over there weren't soccer trainers. They didn't know the schedule that they had. So they were overtraining the girls in the mornings.
Gotcha.
And then injuries started happening, and so the girls weren't even playing now on the weekends. I mean, they were doing sled pushes, all this extra stuff that it's fine.
Yeah.
You can give those types of, but you need to know when.
Yeah.
And so the mom kind of said, hey, how come you guys don't start this? And yeah, our academy started with 4 kids. We just said, hey, yeah, we're going to start it. We just kind of talked to parents about it. We didn't even come up with a flyer or a post or anything about it. It's like, hey, we're going to start this morning program if you guys are interested. And then it started from 4 kids. And then one kid specifically, he was an 08 boy. He was a little kid, and he improved a lot. He was on the B team, and then that following summer, he still got put on the B team. But like a lot of kids saw from his age group and his friends saw like the improvement. And then from that first year to the second year, it grew up to 12 kids. Dang. And then the third year, I think we had another 15 kids, and now we have up to 24 kids.
Wow. How do you separate the academics with the training?
So the way we do this is, since we have kids that play there's different platforms, competitive platforms. There's kids that play ECNL, ECNRL, MLS Next, whatever, there's different platforms, and each platform has its own schedule. So what we do for academics is the parents and the kid have to find a program that's going to best fit them. Like some problems that we faced when some kids were choosing CCSD, as CCSD makes it mandatory for Friday mornings for tests, you have to log in and show face.
Okay.
But Fridays now, for some of those kids, like that's the day we travel, so I can't log in. And they were going to be called like an absent, and then it's a fail on that test. And some teachers wouldn't let them make it up.
Gotcha.
So it's like you have to find a program that's kind of lenient for what platform you're in. So that's why we let the parents kind of delegate and kind of figure out and do the research on what program. We do recommend some. We make sure they're NCAA accredited. Okay. And then and some programs that we're somewhat familiar with, but we let the parents choose. That make sure it's not going to jeopardize. If you guys, some tournaments are now a week long. There's some tournaments that they don't even care if they're school or not. They start on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and kids have to miss school. Gotcha. So we let that part, and then obviously the training is train every day, but going back to like make sure we manage the loads that we're maintaining and enhancing what already they have going on with club and in their games.
Is there ever a point where maybe you see one of your athletes and you're like, man, if he or she gave an extra 5 hours a day, let's say, that you approach a parent and try to be like, look, consider this because they have a lot of potential?
No.
Okay.
I don't. The academy has to come within. The kid wants to do it because obviously you can. There is a show. The kids do mess around. Is they still try to keep it fun for them. We do go on trips to go like field sessions and stuff.
Okay.
So we try to keep those. And every year we've improved. Like we try to make events and stuff. Try to make it more like a school environment. But it's also knowing that the parents. It's something you have to pay.
Yeah.
And you're taking your kid out of school. The academics part. Now your kid has to be somewhat self-efficient. Is he ready for that?
Right.
So I tell the parents that, and I was like, and then now the ball's in your court. Like, you guys decide if you guys want to pull the trigger on this.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to say, I'll never, hey, you should try it. No. This is what we offer. This is the program we have. And if it's the right fit, and if you guys feel like it's going to be a right thing for your kid, and then absolutely our doors are wide open.
What's the ultimate goal with that? Do you want to grow it 3 times the size? Do you want to have a place that's just a school and, boarding? And
no, none of that. I don't think Vegas still is ready for that. Okay. I would love. There's other places like that, like IMG. I have a kid that trains at IMG, but IMG's like, I think it's more expensive than some colleges. There's another one called like Shattuck St. Mary's. I think it's in Minnesota.
Okay.
I don't remember Nick Robinson, the kid that was half white, half Japanese.
Oh yeah.
So he came from there. There's stuff. I will never do boarding, just because with that you have to start teams. And I don't want to get into teams. I want to keep it peaceful with every club in Vegas.
Gotcha.
I want to be friends with everyone.
Okay.
So my doors are open to wide open. If people get whiff I'm trying to start teams, then that cancels out a lot of my clientele because people are going to think I'm trying to steal their players to create teams for PSA.
Gotcha.
So no teams for PSA. But what I would like to see is a place that can form kids and can we give opportunities that sometimes I believe clubs lack.
Yeah.
A year ago now. No. This past winter, a kid named, we call him Panda, but Mateo Valesquez, a 2012 kid. He was in our academy, and now he's with Orlando City's MLS Academy.
Wow.
So each kid, it goes back, getting personalized. This kid has the potential to go into an MLS Academy. How can we get you ready, not just on the field, but off the field? Get ready to wash your own clothes. Mm-hmm. Get ready to cook your own food. Even though you're only 13 years old, you got to learn how these things. Mm-hmm. You're going to live with a host family. That house you're living in, you got to treat it better than your own home. You got to clean the bathroom they're going to provide for you. Sometimes you're going to have to just clean the whole damn house and just so they show that you're appreciative of what they're doing. So those are the little, and are you going to do good in school? Because some of these MLS academies now, it's not like what you discussed, kind of like how Ronaldo went left or went right and stuff like that. No, you have to be doing good in school because if you flunk out, they're going to kick you out the program.
Right.
Because these, the more elite academies, and I would say now there's less of that, the kids going to play at the park and no school. Mm-hmm. And now it's tying in both because now these academies are saying we have to create good human beings.
Correct.
Because some clubs got in trouble. Yeah, you're developing these ballers, but out of all the, let's say it's the U18 team, there's 18 kids on that. There's probably 3 or 4 that are going to move on to the next level. What are you going to do with the other 15?
Right.
You've kept them out of school the last 5 years. So then they're not going to want to pick up books anymore. So now it's getting to a point where can we create good students, great human beings, and kind of soccer falls into that third spot.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that's what I've told them. That's what my purpose with is. So the kids that I can see that actually can ball out, can we get you ready to go into the MLS Academy? And obviously off the field stuff, can you guys go and make an impact? And going back to my story of when, in Tulsa, stuff that didn't start panning out and stuff kind of went downhill for me is you might, and this is why I told the kid Panda, I was like, you might be the big dog. You might be the best 2012 year. You're going to Orlando City. Mm-hmm. They get to pick all the kids around the nation now. Yeah. So you'll probably be as good as the guys that are ranked 16th to 18th now. You're not going to be the top dog. You're not going to start. So how are you going to fight for your spot now? So taking my experience of how negative I was is now telling kids, hey, you got to be patient. Just keep working. Just keep working. Just working. Luckily, he's made an impact right off the bat. The kid's a stud.
That's awesome.
So, but you never know. Yeah. There might be a stud that they haven't found, and they find him this summer, and then they pull him up, and now he's competing against that guy.
Right.
So for those big dogs like that is getting them right for that. And for the kids that are in the academy is where do you want to play? We have some kids that play like RL, which is like the B teams for Heat.
Okay.
Heat Surf. Now they merged.
Oh, okay.
Can we get you ready to go try out and play ECNL? So it's like the first teams. So it's just kind of everyone has their own, hey, this is what I want to get out of it, and how can we get you there?
Gotcha. And I think earlier this week I saw you posted I think it was this week, you posted a video about it's open enrollment now for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have to make sure, obviously now it's getting to a point where now kind of profiling a little bit and making sure, hey, is this kid just doing this because like he was just going to go? Yeah. So because we want to make it elite. We want to make it competitive. And for example, when that kid Panda came, there's a lot of boys that were 08s. He was 2012. Even though he was taller than some of them, he was still 2012. This kid got bullied. So they have to have that kind of like, because we engage a lot of like 1v1s, 4v4s and stuff like in there. Yeah. Because we try to make it realistic how demanding a real academy is going to be. It's uncomfortable. You look at the top academies, let's say a kid in Bayern Munich. Uh-huh. If the kid underperforms, ciao, see you later. We have a million other kids that we have waiting on the wait list to take the spot. Whereas here in Vegas, if you're on the top team, but you underperform, nothing happens to you.
Right.
As long as you're paying and stuff, the coach is getting paid and all that, nothing really happens sometimes. Yeah, there'll be some cuts here and there, but nothing really serious. Or the parents get upset, you're going to cut my kid? I'll just go to another club.
Right, because there's options here.
There's options. As long as, the parents put the credit card, it's all good.
Yeah, I think that's, I was just talking about this earlier with someone that how you just said the credit card, but I've seen how there's some players that get to a position here in the States, I'll say, because mom or dad can put up, X amount of dollars to replace the kid that's actually playing. Do you see that a lot still happening?
Absolutely. There's a lot of, I'll take, for example, there used to be this really good team on LVSA, 03 Silver. Uh-huh. The majority of the kids were Hispanics. Balling team, they won 2 national championships. But you can see whether there's like those 2 to 3 kids that mom and dad just wanted them to be on that team so they can be called national champions too. But that's kind of diverting a little bit, but kind of being in that same thing you're talking about is why I also do what I do. Growing up and playing on an Hispanic team where most of, my team as parents had 2 jobs, never really knew about college. Irvin, I don't know, some of the guys from that Players 94 team. I grew up playing with them when we were Gordica 93.
Gordica, yeah.
And then fast forward when we were 18, I think only like 3 of us went to college. And it's because my parents are not the ones that kind of like made sure I went to college. It's because I was lucky enough that I had a coach that kind of guided me through there. But my other teammates didn't have that. So I was like, that whole team could have got recruited to UNV, and we would have been a really good team. So it goes back to a lot of, information is left out because parents just don't know. And some of these clubs don't guide these kids that, their parents don't speak English. Mm-hmm. And it's not just Hispanic parents that can come from other countries, especially I have some kids that come from Africa and they just don't know the system. They don't know they have to take their ACTs, make sure they maintain a certain GPA. So the information is just not presented to them. So when club soccer is over, because, you age out, like, what's the next step? Oh, well, thank you for paying for these last 6 years, and we'll see you later. And it's not to throw shade at clubs. There's generally some good coaches and some good programs that they provide. But I do have a little, little thorn stuck, like, they can be doing so much more.
Yeah.
And that's why I would like to kind of come in and say, hey, like, no, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to stay on. This is your GPA you need to maintain, and to make sure that you reach the next level.
Gotcha.
And then obviously guiding the parents too is like, make sure your kids are on top of this. Because, maybe you can relate to Hispanic parents like, hey, how are you doing in school? Good, Mom. Yeah, and they never check.
Yeah.
Whereas other parents, they'll have the login to check on your grades online, all the stuff. They're on top of you. Yeah, so you can relate to it. Yeah, and it's like you know,
get me in trouble.
Yeah, no. So that's what happens, and like I say, some kids just don't. Oh, I didn't know I had to take my ICTs. I don't know, and I know that because going back to how I got into UNLV, I had to do basically a process that you're supposed to be doing in 2 to 3 years in a period of 6 months. So there's no excuses.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's another part of it, is just kind of making sure providing the information for those that don't have it or don't get it.
Yeah, and that's good too, because like we've talked already, you have the experience. So now, if someone is in a similar situation, you can coach them through them. And and I'm a big believer in, you can open the door for somebody, but you can't make them walk through it, right?
Yeah.
So you be like, you got to do this, this, and this. Now you know what to do, but you got to figure it out too, because
absolutely, no, I'm not gonna hold your hand and guide you through it. Like I'll tell you, hey, and I've had. Then goes back to having that relation. I've been realistic with kids. I had one kid that was 20 at a time. He was like, hey, I heard you're a good coach. I want you to get me ready to go play in Mexico. All right, let's train for a month. Train the kid. I was like, dude, no. Like, you're not, as a 20-year-old going to Mexico in the division you're going to try in, there's some kids over there are grown men already. Yeah. But this is what you can do. Go play at CSN because you do have the skill level to play there. You'll get a competitive season in. You get some film. And then from there, hopefully transfer out to a D3, D2, maybe even a D1 you ball out. And then from there, after, you can kind of continue the process. In the United States, some players make their professional debut later on because they go through college. Yeah. There's USL. There's USL League One, which is still professional. And now there's the MLS next. So it's like the second division for MLS. So he's like, no. He took it the wrong way. So again, it's like, now I don't know what he's doing, but it goes back to me telling kids like, hey, there's different steps to this.
Gotcha. So I want to go back to the social media and tie it in with some marketing. Yeah. So now it's branding is bigger than ever. Yeah. You have NIL deals now. I don't know if you're dealing with it with your athletes, but if you are, it'd be cool to hear about it. But how do you help them have the right mindset and stay positive when everyone's trying to put something on Instagram or on some TikTok or whatever, the parent, like you mentioned, trying to show off their kid, like, unfortunately, that adds pressure and if you can't handle it, I'm sure it fucks up with your play or whatever it is. Are you dealing with anything like that, or how do you handle that?
No, to be fair, I tell parents, like, in the marketing thing, I just tell them, hey, I always tell kids, just make sure if they have their accounts, so they're, because kids are dumb sometimes, and you tell them, hey, just make sure grandma or mom would approve this, what you're about to say on this. But, I mean, we have some kids, like, they even have their own logos now. Yeah. It's like, but, it's run by the parents, though. I talk to some of these kids, I'm like, hey, I sent you this post, like, to watch this move from this player. Well, I don't have access to that account. That's my mom has it. So it's like, well, that doesn't work. So it's changing. Like, for me, it's changing because I think my business grew. Well, I don't think, I know. My business grew because I looked at every person like, I'm going to train you the best I can, and you're going to bring me 3 or at least 1 more client. And that's how I look at everyone. And that's how I was able to grow, But now it's getting to a point where sometimes I'll go to KZ just to walk and see how parents engage. Parents don't really engage with each other on the same teams anymore. There's that disconnect of, like, kind of having that team environment where we grew up and parents say, let's go get a barbecue. And it's like spontaneous. No, everything. But everything has to be planned out. Hey, how does this date work for everyone? Yeah. And it's like, that never really is like, hey, after this game, let's all go here. There's none of that anymore. So parents are really disconnected now and within their own teams. So when their kids are training, they're either walking with their phones or now they just stay in the car and on their phones. Yeah. So my way of how I grew is kind of like, I don't want to say it's dying down because word of mouth still goes a very long way. Definitely. But now it's getting to a point where the phone, you have to make this like cool little highlight reel and stuff, make it look. Yeah. And that's where it kind of kills me too because parents say, hey, I saw this. I was like, your kid can't even juggle past 2 and you want him to do this move already? It goes back to the expectations a little bit like, hey, know your kid, like where he's at. Can he do that? Not now. Give it like a couple months? Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the world with social media. And then obviously with kids, I just tell them, hey, just be smart. I deal with a lot of younger athletes, so they're not really trying to like get a college scout to see their profile. Right. I do have some kids that, they'll have like their soccer account specifically. They put their GPA, they put the matches they're in. There's even like these now flyers that they make, like let's say Chris Flores, and they'll play your team, and they'll say like the times you're playing at, the field you're playing at, against who. So it has grown. Something I venture off? No, because obviously I'm not a college. I don't tell kids like, that's a necessity. Yeah. Always go back. If you're that big dog and you're that baller on the boys or girls, the coach is gonna come watch you play, regardless if you make the coolest flyer.
You'll make noise.
Yeah. Let your ball work do the talking.
What kind of marketing do you do besides social media for your business to try to get athletes to come over?
That's about it. Social media, yeah.
It works, right?
No, well, it's working right now. I mean, like I said, we try to provide the best sessions all the time, and I think what's also helped is we try to make PSA like a second home to these kids. Yeah. Like we goof around. I'm not gonna say sometimes how we goof around with kids, because sometimes parents will probably say, "What?" But it's that relationship with the kids that we grow. Yeah. It's like sometimes we walk up to kids like, "Do your parents know they're wasting their money? You're never gonna be anything." Looking at very grim, but the kids laugh like that. But that's the relationship you have to have, and I think sometimes that's missing the coach environment. Yeah. And that's something I learned in playing in Mexico. Like coaches are always, giving you a hard time, and they're realistic with you. That's the first time I was told like, hey, you're not gonna be good enough if you don't do this. And it's like a more in-depth relationship. Then okay, hey, I need you to warm up, blah blah. All right, see you guys later. So and obviously telling kids, just being up straight, like, hey, you really want this, like, this is what you got to do. If not, like, you're wasting your parents' time, my time, everyone's time. I take it personal now to a point where if kids come and train with me and they're not performing, who's it going to make it look bad? Right. I tell the kids straight up, I was like, it's not good. Your parents aren't going to blame you. They're going to blame me. They're going to blame your coach. And I say, I like myself a lot, so I'm going to make sure, like, I'd rather cut you off before you make me look bad. Right. So that's where we're at with PSA now.
No, I like the reality check there, because it's true. There's only, you can keep feeding the ego, but someone's got to come in and be like, "Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah. Like, this can happen. What are you going to do?" Yeah. Right? Where do you see yourself and your business 5 years from now?
Well, now in the transition, so we have 2 more years on our lease. Okay. I would like to go to a bigger facility. Okay. And what I would like to do with that is obviously maintain the academy, which has been a big new thing for us at PSA, and just keep providing these opportunities, but even bigger. Why not, instead of sending these kids to try out to Orlando, to LA, why not have the kids that train with us, get them ready and say, hey, LA Galaxy, LAFC, Seattle Sounders scouts are coming. I'm talking for the boys. Yeah. They're coming into town, and they're going to look for the best U13, U14, U15 players. We're going to host a combine here. Nice. So now you're bringing the coaches here, and you're putting the best that you have here instead of sending them out there, which it can go different too, because, now the kids are sleeping on their own beds, and, they're resting in their own homes, maybe the support of their parents, and just doing the combine here, they'll probably look better than if they were to do it anywhere else. But now it's actually bringing the opportunity here instead of them seeking it out there. Gotcha. So that's the next step. And for the older kids that are aging out of academies, or it's not, you're not going to go academy anymore, can we bring that college coaches here?
Gotcha. What's the story with your kids? Are you going to try to make them play, or are you going to leave it up to them?
Leave it up to them. Yeah. I don't know. My older one, Julian, who's about to be turn 3, super lefty. I don't know how. So I guess that's a positive. Messi. I guess that's a positive sign. Don't say that. Well, hopefully, but for the other side. But obviously, I'll leave it up to them.
Yeah, and what it means is Real, not Barca. Yeah. That's awesome, man. I want to give you the last couple minutes, if anything that you want to share.
In what regard, like what?
Anything you want to point out, anything that you would like people to know about you that we didn't cover, that you feel is very important for people to know?
No, I mean, not for me, but I think that I would like, me personally, for the soccer players that are making it at the high levels, to get a little more recognized. Okay. In the Vegas Valley. People don't know this. When there's like a high recruit for basketball, they make a big deal, and well-deserved, but they make like a big deal when he's going to sign with Oregon, or he's going to sign with like a big-time, Division I basketball school. But people like don't know that there's Danny Leyva, who's played in the U17 World Cup. In that tournament that you were talking about, Danny Leyva got MVP. Damn. Has an MLS ring. Has played in the FIFA Club World Cup. Like, there's no real promotion, and I think that's why sometimes some kids lack motivation, or like miss a little bit of oh, dang, that's what I want to get. Yeah. You know, we have Matt Poster, who we went to Palo Verde with.
Yeah.
Who at one point he was playing with Rangers FC.
Yep.
So and imagine a kid from Vegas playing with Rangers FC. You know, and now he's making a good living playing with New England Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's Preston Judd, who got drafted from LA Galaxy, and that's playing with San Jose Earthquakes.
Yeah.
There's Zico Bailey, who's, at one point was playing with Cincinnati. He's playing now with New Mexico. There's so many ballers that are doing good things, and then we just don't get recognized.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, it does bother me, too, because I feel like, I don't know how people are going to take this, but I just feel like because it's not an American sport originally, like, they put basketball, football, even baseball over it all the time, and it's like, man, like, and they're making so much money off of it, too, so, like, why not, put it out there more? And
I just want. I'm 702 footy. You see my hashtag all the time. I'm for soccer from Las Vegas, and it's just like we have a girl people don't know there's a girl named Olivia Garcia who played at Florida State. That's like a basketball player from here going and playing with Duke.
Yeah,
that's how big Florida State. I don't know. She won a national championship with them. Man. Like that's how big it was in awesome. Division I. There's another girl named Ryder who's sorry, I butchered her name Magenta. She's going to Florida State too. So I feel like these little things, like these girls make going to a big D1, a top 4 school, at least like let them be announced. So, oh, look, I didn't know there's a girl from Vegas going there. Or like kids can see on the news and it motivates girls more.
Yeah.
Because as right now, girls, what do they see? The women's national team. But there's ballers here in Vegas doing their thing.
Definitely. Like when I haven't played for a while because of my injury, but when I was going to play, I see some kids and I'm like, dude, these kids can play somewhere else, like for sure. But the eyes are not here. Yeah. But they should be. There's a lot of talent in Las Vegas.
A lot of talent that just, yes, sometimes some kids take the wrong steps. They just get misguided and stuff like that. But I think if there was a little bit more of like promoting it, I mean, it's healthy. It's through sports, teaching them to be on time for a practice, to be healthy with their bodies, to stay disciplined to something. So why not, give them a little bit more of the spotlight? We have a team here, a professional team, Las Vegas Lights. Yeah. There should be at least one player maybe just rostered with them, but there isn't. And so I think there should be a little bit more thrown motivation that, the kids have to do their part and make sure that spotlight comes to them. Yeah. But when something big like that happens, there was no article about Danny Leyva winning MLS champions. Like a kid from Vegas that went to Fertitta Middle School. Like, we're like, it's crazy. Know. Yeah, so those are the little things I think that I would like for the people, the community, to maybe the news outlets or something. Hey, we have to put a little more stamp on recognizing these people that are doing good things from Vegas in the professional soccer world.
I'm with you on that, though. I have a cousin, also my cousin Michael is playing in Mexico. His older brother, it's called what is it? Goalkeeper Elite Academy or something like that?
Elite, AGK.
Yeah, I know them, yeah. Yeah, he's Christian Umania. He's one of the coaches there, and one of the kids that he coaches just got picked up. Was it the U.S. national team or some club? But he just got picked
Puebla.
up.
I think I know who you're talking about. They call him Guapo.
Yeah.
That's how I met your cousin, Christian. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. So that kind of stuff is like what you're saying. Like, why isn't it not? We only know because we know these people, and we follow people that follow that. So, like, social media and stuff like that. But other people should see. Like, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And maybe at that level, maybe it's not going to make big news yet. But, like, for example, there's another kid that was with Pachuca for the longest time, Sergio Aguayo, who scored a goal in La Liga MX, made his debut at Pachuca. Not Telemundo, no one said anything about it. It's like, dude, there's a kid that played with Pachuca and scored a goal. Yeah. He was with Pachuca when they played the Intercontinental over there against Real Madrid when made it to the final against. He was benched, but he was there in Qatar. He was Qatar. You got to see Vinny, Rodrigo, Mbappe. Damn. It's like, they should have. This kid from Vegas is playing against the best team or the most recognized team right now in the world. It's like,
Los Blancos.
Los Galácticos. And it's like, so that didn't happen. There's another kid, who's, I think he's going to make his debut this year, if not next year. And another kid, Anwar. He's playing with Mazatlán. Oh, wow. A complete stud, too. But you don't hear about these things, so.
Wait, what's his name?
Anwar.
Okay.
Menroma.
There's another kid here, I forgot where he's playing, but he's in El Salvador. But he played out here with Michael in Herman. And he's playing out there, and he made it. He was like just kind of like on the reserves. Yeah. But now he got picked up, and I don't think the minutes are heavy, but he went somewhere. He's making some kind of living and playing, Yeah. So that all of that kind of stuff, I do wish the same thing that it was.
No, and to be fair, it did get a little better. Like some of the kids I work with, like there was a lot of articles on a kid named Gavin Flickinger. He played at Coronado. He scored, I don't know, like 60 goals in the high school season. So, and then like 40 assists.
Nice.
He got a little bit of recognized and stuff like through the Sun and stuff, but it was like, this kid should have been on the news. Like, hey, he was actually nominated for like Gatorade national team. Player. He got disqualified because supposedly someone set up like a robot to like click, because you can like revote. And I guess someone did one of those like revote. Yeah. So they said, hey, he's disqualified because he's cheating.
Wait, they proved it though? Or?
Yes, I think. To be fair though, he was like a kid from like Minnesota or something, was up from like 10,000 votes. The next day, Gavin was up like there's no way. He was like 10,000 votes away.
He was just like clicking it.
But he got disqualified. But like that's something that's impressive. Like a kid can recognize that level, you know. There's a 07 team, a Heat team last year made ECNL into a national championship final. They were 10 seconds away from winning it.
Oh wow!
Which is it's a high level for the boys platforms, and they unfortunately lost in extra time 4-1. But it goes back to saying like, hey, they made it to a final. Yeah, it's like when the teams like the little teams from Henderson make it to the Little World League Series or something, and it's like, well, there's a team from Vegas that made it to the ECNL national championship. Yeah. But those are things. Like, I think soccer players do deserve to get recognized a little bit more.
Do you ever wish, like, damn, I wish everything happening now was happening when we were younger and playing?
Well, absolutely. For MLS academies and all this, there will be no need for me to go and even look at Mexico. These academies provide housing, school. You're trained right there in the facilities. Right now, there's a couple kids from Vegas playing in that GA Cup. There's a kid named Van Parker, another kid named Parker Sturgis. Parker's with Colorado Rapids. Van Parker's with RSL. If I'm forgetting anyone else, my bad. But yeah, even Van Parker scored a goal yesterday, and he was like on the top sellies because he did like a backflip when he scored. So there's kids from Vegas like now representing us in these MLS academies.
Nice, man. So anyone watching that's out here, man, keep it up because we want to see you guys make it big. Man, it's great talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Let people know where they can find you in the Portugal Sports Academy.
You can look at us for Portugal Sports Academy. You can look at our ad is Portu Sports Academy, PORTU Sports Academy. That's basically our ad for everything, for our Twitter, or X now, for our Instagram. If any more questions, that's our website too. So
cool, man. Yep. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you.
I know I've been quiet for a minute, I've been grinding, still in it, I've been counting these digits, excuse me.